Hi there, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ken Pwiedek, and I run a company called Small Business is My Business. And I want to welcome you today to our exclusive live brand new workshop called Former Big Four CPA Reveals 5 Big Business Breakthroughs for Your Small Business. During this brand new cost-effective lead generation and increased customer conversions exclusive live webinar, I'm going to reveal to you 5 secrets. The most important secret we'll start out with, and I believe this is the most important, it's how to create your own market dominating position and obliterate your competition, especially big businesses. Then secret number 2 is how to attract as many clients as you can handle using this one simple strategy. Number 3, how to charge what you're worth. Number 4, how fast you can grow your business without exploding and running short on cash. And number 5, how to cut your income taxes in half and perhaps only pay a 4% federal income tax rate. So if you've ever wanted to be a part of a financially successful and time-free business, then this is the most important training that you'll attend, and I believe, all year long. In fact, I make this guarantee. I find my clients within 45 minutes at least $100,000 in new annual revenues without them spending an extra dime on advertising. In fact, most of the time they're cutting their advertising costs because they're going to make a more effective advertising to get people to come to do business with them. So let's talk about those things. So basically our agenda today is to cover 5 of the 12 big business breakthroughs that you can use in your small business today. There are 12 areas. We only have time for 5 today. We're going to concentrate on the 5 biggies so that help you grow your income by an additional $100,000 in recurring revenues. I can do that for any business without you spending an extra dime on advertising or marketing. So give you a little background about myself. My name is Ken Pwiedek. I'm the senior partner of a business consulting firm called Small Business is My Business. You might have seen some of our activity on some of these news stations and in magazines and stuff before. It's called the Profit Accelerator software. That's our main line that helps us figure out how to help people systematically and without wasting a lot of time and cutting back on expenses. But anyway, again, my name is Ken Pwiedek. I've owned and operated several of my own small business, so I'm just not just some talking head who's never done this before. I've actually ran a number of businesses, both service and product related companies of my own, put my own money into it. So I'm not just talking out of some textbook. I am talking a lot from practical experience. I've authored a book, which this webinar is based a lot on, called 45-Minute Small Business Breakthroughs. I've also co-authored a book which turned into a college training course of how to start and run a profitable small business. In fact, I even taught this course to high school juniors and seniors, several of which have gone on to own their own profitable small businesses. Now, as far as sales is concerned, I've been a top 5 annuity producer. That's an insurance product for these large insurance conglomerates called Allianz. One's American Equity, Fidelity, and Guarantee, some names you probably heard. Allianz you usually see on Formula 1 Indy 500 type race cars. I was a top producer for them, actually the 5th in the firm out of 20,000 agents at the time. Now, more importantly, I used to be a CPA for 20 years. I worked with a company called Deloitte, which is now the largest international CPA and advisory firm in the world today. I used to be a certified internal auditor and a certified fraud examiner when I worked for Floor Corporation. So I do a lot of forensic analysis on financials to figure out what's wrong, to come up with a solution to fix. I used to be a registered investment advisor, so I understand how the markets work. Currently, along with my wife, I'm a licensed broker at eXp Realty. Used to own my own real estate firm for up to 17 years, but now I place that license under a larger firm. Basically, some of the things we talk about, cutting costs, it's actually less expensive for me to hire a large firm like that to handle my background in advertising than it was for me to spend time on that myself. Also alleviated a lot of time to be able to help my business consulting clients over the years as well. I have a professional accounting degree from Bob Jones University, Master's of Ministry from Greenville Presbyterian Theological Seminary. I also have a certificate as a certified small business instructor from Wayne State University up in Detroit. But if you've been in business any length of time, you've probably heard the names Tom Hopkins and Brian Tracy. I was personally mentored and trained by them for 5 and 3 years, respectively. Know them personally, and many of the things that we'll be talking about, they also talk about themselves. So I'm a published author. I've contributed to a number of magazines, recognized as a business strategist, and owned and sold several small businesses over the years. So that's basically my background. And so that, to sum all that up, it's basically, I give you that background to give you some sort of assurance that what I'm talking about here is reliable. But one thing I want to deal with here, and what it all boils down to, there's basically 5 areas in your business that you need to concentrate in on as the business owner, president of your firm, et cetera. And these are the 5 areas listed here. We're going to deal with foundation principles, laying the foundation, and then be able to translate into getting more leads, converting those leads at a higher percentage than you have been, getting more transactions from those clients, and netting more profits and saving more of those profits with avoiding unnecessary expenses. In fact, here are 40 areas that I deal with as customers, as our client base gets larger in their services and in their sales. There's more and more areas like policies and procedures and follow-up closing rates and writing scripts and downselling and setting up appointments and training sales teams that go beyond just being a solopreneur. So there's actually 40 areas in business that we have to, as business owners, really pay attention to, some more than others. In fact, a number of webinars that you might have seen, programs, seem to be all driving you to, first of all, doing digital marketing. I am not one of those gurus that only knows about advertising and marketing. And a lot of companies out there that you deal with, that's where they want you to start in some sort of digital marketing. They got us somehow trained like Pavlov's dog, is that all we got to do is do more digital marketing and our problems will be solved, like particularly like Facebook. But let me tell you the reality. Of the 40 areas in business, digital marketing is a very small portion, only 1/40th of our concerns. In fact, Facebook is such a small part of that. That's 35. There's 35 different ways to advertise your small business, and Facebook is only one of those, and that represents only 35 out of one of the 40 areas that do business with. So it's a very small area. So to concentrate on a molehill just doesn't make any sense. So let's concentrate on the big stuff first, and the little stuff will work itself out. Fair enough? All right, let's do it. All right, let's see where we're at here. So you can see that, why a lot of business owners just throw in the towel and give up, particularly after 10 years. Harvard, Entrepreneur Magazine, and a number of other organizations, the SBA, has all come to the conclusion that 90% of the businesses that start within 10 years, we're talking about small businesses, will be out of business within 10 years. So that only leaves 1 in 10 of you that are here listening to me today that most likely will be around 10 years from now. And the reason why you're going to be around 10 years from now is that you learned how to manage the proper areas of your business and stay control of those top 5 areas. Because, when we talk about that's bad news, the good news is that 80% of your revenue growth comes from just 5 easy areas for you to target in your business. So that's the good news, and that's what I want to talk about. And if you remember the 80-20 rule, it's also known as the Pareto principle. What I do with my consulting clients is that I help them make small incremental increases in these 5 key areas. That's revenue and profit, and their growth is going to be transformational. Okay, just with a little bit of working on one of those areas, let's say 3 or 5, 10, maybe even 50%, depending on where they're at today. So just making small incremental changes like compound interest. You make a little bit of here, then you make a little bit more on that little bit, and before long, in the long run, you've made yourself a very profitable business. So one of the things I want you to remember that I've learned a long time ago is, you've heard about these get rich quick things. I mean, they're all over the internet. Facebook, it's like get rich quick, make 8 figures in 3 years, selling this, whatever. Okay. Well, I'm sorry, friends, but there is no real good get rich quick scheme unless somebody just dumps $10 million on your plate and says, have a happy day. and that's pretty rare. So what I tell folks is get rich slowly. So if you're just started thinking about getting in business, or you just got into business, I mean, leave your day job and automatically jump into a business from scratch. I mean, yeah, you'll probably need 6 to 12 months worth of income to get you through, but work part-time. Do your business on the side. Let some other employer pay your Blue Cross and Blue Shield, your Social Security taxes while you're trying to figure all this stuff out. So don't start in cold turkey. That doesn't work very well in getting off cigarettes, for example. It doesn't work well in business either. So get rich slowly. And let's help you concentrate on the 5 surefire areas that are going to make you successful in business. Okay. So what is the 5-step profit formula? And it is a formula because actually when you start with one, you can compound and increase your business dramatically, not just the same across each of the 5 areas, but incrementally. So what I mean by that is that if you increase number 2 by 3%, increasing number 3 now instead of by 3% might be 3.1%. So you get a little compound growth. So let's talk about, first one is getting more leads. I mean, what business doesn't need more leads? The thing is, we need to come up with qualified leads that basically have money or have credit and can do business with you. The one type of lead you don't want to ever have is one with no money and no credit. Those are charitable cases. And if you want to take on 1 or 2 of those, like many lawyers and other professionals do, they take on charity cases, as we call them. Pro bono cases is what we call them as well. You can do that. So I'm not telling you to forsake, people that might need your help. But the problem is, if you're drowning yourself, you can't have somebody that doesn't have a life jacket on trying to take yours off. All right, so let's get more qualified leads. And what we're going to do next is convert more of those. So if we're converting 1 in 4 of our leads, let's try working on converting one in 3. Okay, increasing our conversion rate. And then of those increased conversions, let's try to get more transactions. So if we sell them once a month, let's try to sell them once every 4 weeks or 13 times a year. Okay, makes small steps give incremental and dramatic results in your profit and your sales. And of course, now we can talk about having a higher average dollar per sale. We can do that through bundling, cross-selling, downselling, increasing prices, which is extremely easy and very easy to do in this current environment that we have right now. And then once we have higher revenues and sales, we now want to concentrate on cutting costs, because it's not what you make, it's what you keep that counts. Okay. All right. So what I'm trying to do is develop a predictable pathway for you to compound and transformationally grow your revenues and profits. And we call that profit acceleration. And that's really what we want in small business. We don't have time and millions of dollars to waste on advertising trying to figure out what works. When, to be honest with you, a lot of big businesses have already figured it out. And I've been able to summarize that information and provide that for you today. The same thing works in your small business. Principles exactly the same. So here's 12 areas in any business that we have financial breakthroughs in. And we're not going to talk about all 40. In fact, we're not going to talk about all 12. We're going to deal with 5. And the first one is the market dominating position. And the key to success in any business is your market dominating position. I mean, what are you in business to do? What's your message? What makes you unique in the prospect's mind that only you and you only can solve that problem? So what I mean by that is that when you think about how you communicate your message, what your business is, you must be able to enter into the conversation taking place in the head of your prospects. Okay, so you got to know your clients. And another way to look at it is if you're able to address the number one question on your prospect's mind at just the right time. That's the game. That's the name of the game in advertising. Okay. All right. So what are we talking about? So entering into the conversation in the buyer's mind, it really is dealing with 4 particular areas. One is you have to understand what is the problem that they have that they don't want. They have a problem. They got to get it solved. And what is your solution that they want that they don't have? And that's where a transaction takes place. In fact, you think about it. Nobody loves to be sold, but we do love to buy things. We want things to solve our problems. We want. My wife buys a new set of clothes because she wants to look nice and feel good about herself. So she buys new clothes. It's an emotional decision, but she justifies it logically. And every decision that we make when it comes into transaction is that, it's an emotional purchase, but we justify it logically. Okay, so what do we mean by that? Well, what we use is called a conversion equation to figure this out. And what we do, the first thing is we have to interrupt them, talk about getting into the mind of the prospect. So we develop a headline that states the problem your prospect has and doesn't want. And then we have a subheadline, which is the engagement, get them to read a little bit further, a subheadline that states the promise of the solution that they want but don't have. So I'm telling you what your problem is. I'm telling you what the solution is. And then I start educating you either in writing or verbally in a presentation that presents evidence that I know my product or service is superior in every way to my competition and will solve your problem. I can prove that. And once I do that, then I make you an offer essentially that it's so irresistible and compelling that you can't refuse it. Okay. So that's how we enter into dealing with this problem of entering into the buyer's mind. Okay. So we have to engage, we have to stop them. We have to engage them. We have to educate them and then ask them to purchase. Okay. And however that fills out for a particular client is the art of the sale. This is the science. Okay. In fact, what I do for each of my clients, I've done it for myself. In fact, writing a market dominating position, getting inside the head of your client, I actually have a software product that actually helps me do this. And what I do for my clients is we sit down and ask a series of questions. What is your client's, top 3 or 5 problems, and what is your solutions? And I start writing a market dominating position from that. And how it develops is through this thing called an avatar. And this is the one that we do for our clients here at Small Business is Our Business. And I call our client Michael. He's a struggling small business owner who dreams of becoming a financially successful and time-free business owner. But Michael's focus is currently on cost-effective lead generation and increased customer conversion. This is what's on his mind all the time. Ultimately, Michael really wants a 6-figure income. He doesn't want to do cost-effective lead generation just because it's cost-effective. He wants to be able to make a 6-figure income to work on the business and not in the business. Okay, so that's really what he wants. And what now I have to do is prove how I can make that happen. But what Michael would love to have, his ultimate goal is to make more sales, properly price his product or service, and stop spending so much at ads that don't work. That's what frustrates him the most. Unfortunately, Michael still needs to figure out how to get more exposure without going broke buying ads, stand out from the crowd of all other competitors in the same niche, and reduce taxes and save for retirement. These are secondary issues to him. Michael's also really frustrated by the fact that marketing on Facebook and social media feels like he's yelling into an abandoned building. And customers seem to want more service for less money. And there never seems to be enough cash for himself. All those compound on one another, and there's a reason why. And this market dominating position statement is what fixes this. Plus, he still feels he needs to get answers to the questions before he can move forward. And these questions are: how do I increase sales without spending more on ads? How do I get more sales from current clients? What's the best way to get paid what I'm worth? So Michael is still hung up, though, on the idea that you have to spend more to make more. He's got to be convinced that that's not so. Also, he's convinced that he's a business manager, not a salesperson, and that great professional help costs too much. It's not for him. In fact, he feels big businesses actually don't want him to succeed with cost-effective lead generation or increased customer conversions. When it's all said and done, though, Michael just wants to live the life of a successful entrepreneur, spend more time with family and friends instead of working all the time, and finally feel in control of his life and finances. Does that sound like somebody you know? Okay, we talked about the conversion equation again. We use a headline to interrupt them with their problem, engage them with a promise of the solution, educate them to justify the emotional purchase, and then make an offer that they can't refuse in any form or fashion at the right time. In fact, when we write ads or we look at current ads that are written by others for your business, we use this grading system we call the conversion equation evaluator, and we rank points by those four areas: interrupt, engage, educate, and offer. And then an overall, is the ad powerful, passionate, precise, or elegant? It doesn't matter what kind of advertising is done here, whether it's a written ad or TV or radio, that sort of thing. So essentially, you'd be surprised the number of professional ads that come out that basically don't even make a 3. They're not even average. So anything below a 3 overall needs to be reworked, is what we say. So we need to come up with better interrupt, mainly in engagement. And really, most of the advertising today fails on the education. Everything seems to be pushed towards the emotional rush to the quick sale, and most people don't buy that way. All right. In fact, this leads us to the next area, which we call the compelling offer. Make him an offer he can't refuse.
Remember when Marlon Brando in The Godfather said,
"I'm going to make him an offer again."
That's the ultimate definition of what we refer to as a compelling offer.
All right. Everybody knows, The Godfather, make him an offer he can't refuse. And, unfortunately, The Godfather used the methods that we're not allowed to use because, we're not killers. Okay. So we have to make him a compelling offer that's like, I'm basically, I'm going to be nuts if I don't purchase it. It's going to make my life easier. It's going to make my life better. And the cost is far less than the value that I'm going to get. Okay. In fact, marketing is just strategic. It's been unduly simplified by business owners' failure to implement the buyer's journey. Okay. This failure requires more repetition. So this is what big businesses do all the time. They figure, well, I'll just throw more money at it. Or marketing companies say, well, just do more Facebook advertising, more Google ads, that sort of thing. And it's still minimally effective because basically you're just throwing more garbage at people that don't hear you, and you wonder why you don't get any responses or very little. So here's why. There's this thing called the buyer's journey. The buyer always travels through this predictable information gathering situation. So at the beginning, he becomes aware of your product or service because he saw it on, in one of your ads. And he's asking himself, why should I buy it? Basically, he's asking, what's the benefit to me? So if your ad is saying, more interested in the benefits to you as opposed to the benefit of the customer, you're just wasting your time right out of the gate right there. You have to address what is the benefit of ownership of your product or service. And then they're going to go through the objections to ownership. Why shouldn't I buy this? What's the downside? What's the bad stuff? What's the stuff you're not telling me, Mr. Salesman? All right. As a professional salesperson, the reason why I became number 5 out of 20,000 insurance agents with less than 3 years of experience, I rose from nothing in that insurance business. Basically, I started out at 0 and became the number 5 guy in the firm as far as sales is concerned, because when I put my sales presentation together, I always address the negatives because I've learned one very strong principle. And this is a freebie. You might want to write this down. Okay. If they say, whatever comes out of their mouth is the gospel truth, whether it's right or wrong. Okay. So if your prospect's sitting there and he says, well, what about this negative part of your product or service? If you've allowed him to do that, you have just created a negative situation you're probably never going to get over, and you might as well just shut down the sales presentation right then and there. Okay. But if you say it, you're the salesperson, they're in the back of their mind thinking he's going to tell me, all the good stuff and none of the bad stuff. So if he says it, it's automatically a lie. If I say it, it's automatically a truth, even though that may not be the case. So always bring up the bad parts of your product or service as well, and mitigate them how you solve those bad problems. So your job as a sales consultant is to help people get through this buyer's journey, help them overcome these questions that they have. And so guess who they're going to buy from? Yeah, the guy next door? Heck no, he's going to buy from you because he now can trust you to tell him everything he possibly needs to know about the product or service and how it's going to make him best, within reason. So buyers are gathering information over time, and it's your job to give them that information. And it doesn't happen the first time. In fact, hundreds of studies have been done of industries across, all industrial lines, that only 3 to 9% of buyers are in the market to buy anything at any moment in time. In fact, most of the time, it seems to be more like 1%. So what are you going to do about those other 99% of the people that are not buying from you when they see your ad? And we call that a drip campaign. So the job of advertising, quite frankly, is to get leads, and that lead is basically a name and an address, a name and a contact, whether it's an email or a phone number. That's what you're getting. That's what you're getting as a lead. All right. And then you're going to have to continue to send your message to that lead maybe 100 times before they actually come to a conclusion that it's time to buy from you. In fact, when you make a compelling offer, this is the compelling offer I make to my coaching clients. So I'm guaranteeing you this, that I can find any business an additional, here it says 10 to 50,000, but in less than 45 minutes, but actually I can do 100,000, sometimes more than that, depending on the size of the business. And I'm going to do it without you asking you to spend a cent on marketing or advertising. Okay. So what business in their right mind, when they're ready to do this, would not take me up on that offer? I mean, you've got nothing to lose. All right. In fact, the way I operate my business is that when I work with a one-on-one type business, I really work on what we call a no result, no compensation, no fee type method, no results, no fees. And what I mean by that is I work on a commission type basis. I become the chief revenue officer, if you will, of your business. So I work strictly on commissions, and my job is to increase your true sales, and I take a fee for doing that. So it's not like a lot of coaching where it says, well, I'm going to tell you how to do it. It's going to cost you $5,000 a month. And whether you make money or not, well, maybe I'll give you some of it back, but who wants to do that? I don't. So if I earn it, then people are happy to pay it because they didn't have it to begin with. So yes, you can afford a professional to do your work without it costing you really, in my case, really a dime up front. Okay. So that's my compelling offer. So let's look at what an offer might be. Now, if you look at a number of websites that I've seen, and here's one about a financial advisor, and I got hundreds of these. I always ask myself, first question, what's the offer? Okay, can you figure out what the offer might be here? It's the stuff in red. Get a free consultation, call an 800 number, give me your full contact information. Here's my phone number. Okay, so everything he says about himself is all great and wonderful. And quite frankly, I'm looking at, he's got his, degrees and stuff. And I say, well, I hope so. If the prospect's saying, I hope so, well, you're no different than anybody else. You just basically beat the league minimum. But nobody's going to fill out, an information to get on your sales call list to be called for an appointment. People just don't, or they don't do that unless they're in severe trouble. And are you sure that's the kind of client you want? In fact, here's one in a chiropractic service. If you can kind of figure out what you think the offer is, it's basically the same offer, but you get to do it in 2 different phone numbers. Isn't that great? Call this number and we'll get you chiropractic and acupuncture services and all of our nice, friendly people here. Now, if I was an older patient, maybe looking at 6 middle-aged younger people, that may not be appealing to me. So that's just something else to consider too. All right. Now, here's one I like to talk about. I call him Dr. John. It's not his real name. We're protecting, obviously, his business. But Dr. John's a consultant of basically a behavioral consultant specializing in children. And his original ad, when we first started dealing with him, he said, call me now for free 30-minute consultation, free consultation. And these are the 9 areas that I specialize in. In his video there, though this, having a video was a very major upgrade compared to a lot of his competitors, but he didn't say anything on it. In fact, you can read what he's saying is just, hi, give me a call. All right. So all fine and dandy. So his offer is, free consultation, call me, we'll set it up in 30 minutes and see where we go from there. All right. So we apply the conversion equation. This is what we found out. He averages 300 leads per month from this ad. Now he spends like $4,000 a month on Facebook and Google ads. And so he's getting a lot of leads. And 10% actually take him up on his offer, which is amazing for this guy. It's amazing for anybody in this business. But these people are desperate. So of the 30 that call him asking about the consultation, 3 actually come in for the appointment. And he has such a high conversion rate that everybody that comes in, almost without exception, becomes a client of his. Number one, I think originally his prices were extremely low, but he was able to convince them once they came in, that he can actually fix the problems. Okay, so he was getting typically 1 to 2% in conversion. All right, so again, here's how we applied the conversion equation. This is doctor's video script now says on that video, instead of saying hi, it's basically, as a parent, you're struggling to gain control of your child's attitude and emotions, right? Yeah. And I've got the solution. I mean, basically, your child is screaming and yelling at you while displaying belligerent and sometimes threatening tone that no matter what you do or try, it just can't seem to get under control, right? Yeah. Well, my name is Dr. Smith, and I help parents like you every day learn the techniques that will help solve these frustrating, destructive behavioral patterns once and for all. In fact, let me prove it to you. And then the offer is enter your name and email in the box to the right on the website, and I'll send you a series of 60-second techniques that will immediately restore peace and quiet in your home. So his offer now is to send them information. In fact, we changed the website. We point all his leads to what we call a lead capture page using the same information. Sick and tired of yelling, screaming, belligerent children. Got a matching picture. It kind of spells it out 1,000 words right there. And discover the secrets. Give me your name and your email address. Hit the button, and automatically you're going to figure out how I help you solve within 60 seconds shutting this kid down, okay, and making him a better behaved child that you can love without frustration. Another one with a little girl, same thing. Like none of us had children that would give us trouble, some more than others. People that call him really have a lot of trouble. And so when he gets then there's a thank you page, and basically Dr. John on this video will start sharing a few of those secrets right online. So not only they see it, they hear it, and they can read it as well. So now the conversion, he's still getting 300 leads per month, but now, because he's not changing any advertising. Remember, I told you we're not going to spend anymore. In fact, he's actually spending less. He's down to about $2,500 a month, still getting 300 leads because number one, he's this interruption thing, sick and tired of yelling, screaming children. I mean, it gets everybody's attention. So he's still getting 300 leads in, spending less per month. Now 20% are requesting the offer. Why? Because it's easy. It's almost like guaranteed. Nobody's going to really bug me. I don't have to meet face to face and be forced into making a purchase decision without enough information or feeling comfortable about Dr. John. So now he's still getting about 10% of those 60 coming in. So now he's got 6 new people coming in, taking him up on his offer. Once he basically calls them and talks to them, and about 10% are still coming in. So his conversion rate's still about the same, but now he's got twice as many patients. And his average sale is about $800. Like I say, it's pretty low, but now he immediately increased his monthly income by $2,400 because now he's got 3 more clients at $800 he didn't have the month before. All right. So that's $28,000 a year. Can you imagine what he's going to do with $28,000 a year extra? Well, yeah, he's going to pay a little taxes. We'll show how to save some of that, but he's able to do some things personally. And if he wants to take some time off, he can afford to do it now. Okay. So I mentioned briefly drip campaigns, and this is another financial breakthrough. So instead of us wasting all these dollars on Facebook advertising and just, trying to get people to buy right off the Facebook ad, hardly anybody does that, but because people need information over periods of time, and sometimes you need anywhere of 100 contacts. These, the marketing people tell you in order for them to want to do business with you. So, what do you do with those 99% of those people who saw your ad but didn't buy right then and there? Well, you had to put together what's called a drip campaign, and that's what we help you do. In fact, part of that market dominating position script that I read you, that avatar. That information that I use in my drip campaigns comes right from that information that I put into that system. And I can create literally dozens and dozens of messages just off of that. And they all tie in the same. In my computer, it helps me, jostle them around so they look a little bit different. It's not the same message exactly, every time. So what we're doing is now we're dropping a series of messages on these people. We use a computer program to be able to do that. And so the drip campaign follows the buyer's journey and communicates with customers and prospects on a predetermined and scheduled basis, because we tell the computer when to turn on the messages and when to turn them off. They're not going to read a message generally at 3 o'clock in the morning, so don't send it at 3 o'clock in the morning. Generally, people open up their email shortly after they receive them. So it's important to get the people when they're actually going to be looking at their emails, for example. All right, we call this lead nurturing. 80% of all sales occur between the 5th and 12th direct point of contact between the business and prospect. I mentioned 100, but by this drip campaign, bringing that information to them routinely and in consistency, you're actually going to increase that or decrease it from 20 to 100 touch points to 5 to 12 touch points before they become clients. So this is what we call increasing conversions. And what we found out was that a lot of the business that we start doing business with, one of the first reasons why they chose doing business because they weren't following up with their prospects, and they found out, well, gee, all this stuff kind of compounds on one another. If Ken writes my avatar and comes up with all my drip campaign, I'm just going to increase sales, just naturally, and we're going to see how that works here in a little bit. But it's true. And the fact is, if you're not paying me until I actually get you a paying client, what do you got to lose? Again, that's my compelling offer. Is like I work for free until I get you some revenue. So I put some in your pocket. I take a little bit, for my services. So it's kind of a beautiful thing, really, to think about it. And so what happens with all those other, basically you're getting 300 leads a month and only 6 are becoming clients. I mean, there's 294 people that are out there that are not doing anything right now. Well, so let's look at this funnel. We call a lead funnel. So 300 leads a month are going in, 60 opt-ins for the free offer. And that nets us out 6 clients, but there's 54 opt-ins that we're not reaching every month with an appointment. I mean, they're getting our sales letters. 54 of them said, yeah, I'm interested today, but keep giving me information. And one of these days I'll make up my mind. Okay. So we got to stay in contact with these 54. And we do that through a series of drip campaigns. Mostly it's email. Sometimes it can be text if they give you permission to do that sort of thing. So let's assume, and again, this is more an assumption, Dr. John actually gets this through his drip campaign that we set up for him. He gets 2 additional clients each month. So that's basically now he's getting 8 clients. So this is what it looks like. We're filling up his funnel with 54 new prospects every month is going into the funnel. 8 of them are becoming clients. Or 6 of them are becoming clients at the beginning, 2 are coming out of the funnel each and every month, and it starts compounding, as you can see, over the months. So in 12 months' time, Dr. John's getting over 4,000 prospects, and it's generating an additional 72 clients in 12 months. That's over and above the 6 he's getting. The 6 he's getting is 72 that he didn't have before. So he went from 72 clients he was normally getting, or 36 clients. Now he's getting 72 clients in a 12-month period of time. But he's also getting another 156 new clients that he wouldn't have got had he not done the drip campaign. So, wow, talk about in growing your business. And a lot of times I say, well, if we put a drip campaign in your business, by what percent you think it would increase your business? And some people say, well, maybe 50%. So, well, let's be conservative. Let's think maybe 5%, maybe 10%. Okay, let's start out small. In this case, I mean, they're talking over 1,100% increase in the business for Dr. John's business. And all we did was just change the way we said things and how often we said them. It doesn't really cost us that much to do it either. In fact, it's cheaper than what he was doing. That's the reason why his ad spend is actually dropped by $1,500 a month because actually he's getting too many clients. So at the end of every month, he's, by month 12 of year 1, Dr. John's getting 32 patients every month. I mean, good grief, at $800, it's $25,000 a month. We're talking almost $300,000 a year in revenue. He's now a serious professional. In fact, can the doctor actually handle all these logistically? Well, probably not. So one of the solutions that we did, and we already told Dr. John he was well below what other people in his business were charging. And $800 is more like, it should be more like closer to $1,200, basically $100 a month for counseling. In fact, that's recently even gone up. This was last year. This year, counseling's gone up about another 10%. So about $110 is typical counseling hour price. So he said, go ahead, Dr. John, and start increasing your prices. Don't discount. In fact, the worst thing any business can do is to discount their services or their or their product price. In fact, when you discount your price, you lose the full value of every dollar you discount. All right. So innovate your business so that you offer more value than your competition. Okay. So Dr. John, and just, once he gets the person in, he's not just solving just the one, screaming thing. There's always a bunch of other stuff that has to be done or should be done to improve this child's life and the parents' joy in dealing with having their children more than what it was before they met Dr. John. So we ask you to give more value, even if that means increasing your prices. Again, it's a very easy thing to do in this day and age because all prices are going up. We want to help people, but the fact of the matter is people are being trained right now for increased prices. So, I mean, that may sound like a little harshness, but now is the time. Believe it or not, most people that I run into, and they'll tell you this in almost any entrepreneur magazine, Harvard Business Review or whatever, in 20 years' time, people in small business, if they're still in business, have probably never raised their prices in the last 10 years. Okay. Because you get comfortable. Okay. And the fact is, your costs are raising up and you can't provide professional services if you don't charge enough to be able to cover those services. So we're not talking about, gouging people, but we are talking about charging a reasonable professional service, particularly for knowledge information like a consultant. If you solve the problem, it's worth any amount of money to any parent, and they would give you a king's ransom to be able to help you fix their child in these behavioral issues. So that's what you're really solving, is giving a better relationship between mom and dad and their children. Okay, so if that means increasing your prices, do it to build the trust, and that's what Dr. John is now doing. In fact, so when we talk about discounting, most of the time when you see discounts, we say discount your product 10%, but most of the time an offer, you'll see discounts in the 20 to 40% range. And people sit by and they ask, well, geez, why am I going broke? But we even add more bad news to people getting this discounting scenario is that discounting actually doesn't impact a prospect's buying decision unless that discount is for 40% or more. Okay, so basically you're cutting your prices in half or worse in order to get people to buy strictly on price. Now, if you're competing on price, you'll always compete on price until you basically price yourself out of business. So don't do that. You price on yourself based on what value you deliver and price it accordingly. And that, again, is where I can help. In fact, want to show you a quick video here about increasing prices for a few
minutes.
moments.
Have you ever asked yourself the question, how much more money could I make if I increased my prices? Perhaps you've asked that question before, but there comes a warning in your brain. Be careful. If you raise your prices, you'll lose customers. Optimizing pricing is a complex and sensitive topic. Let's say you sell a widget for $100 and your net profit is 15% or $15. You decide to increase that price by 5% to $105. That additional $5 is all profit, 100% of it. You don't say I'll make 15% of that $5 increase. You get to account for all of it. So if you originally make a $15 profit on a $100 sale, you'll now make a $20 profit on that same sale. That's a 33% increase in profits. Sometimes the market will allow a certain price increase, but they will embrace it more easily if you clearly state the reason why. If you clearly state the reason for your higher prices in a manner that is logically acceptable to your market, then this extra profit represents enormous leverage through your entire business. But keep this in mind. Often those customers who do leave you after a price increase are likely the ones who are the biggest complainers, need the most customer support, are normally behind in their payments, and generally cause the greatest amount of stress in your day. This means by increasing your prices, you can make more money and deal with fewer customers. It can restore the joy of doing business. It frees up your customer support line, or it allows you to reassign your staff to more important tasks. You can then serve your clients at a higher level, and this increases your value proposition. And with a higher value proposition, you'll attract more high-value customers willing to pay you a higher price. If we could create a perception of higher value and communicate it to your customers in such a way that they understand and accept that value, by what percent do you think you could raise your prices? Keep in mind that 80% of your revenues will come from 20% of your client base. Assess which 20% and make sure they're getting the red carpet treatment versus always worrying and babysitting the moaners and complainers. This exercise will be a needle mover for your company's profitability.
Okay, well, I hope you can get a good understanding of why raising your prices is a good thing for you. It's also a good thing for your customers too. Now, the problem is that those whiners and complainers, your customers who are basically price shopping anyway, the problem is that they've never learned what it takes to be successful in business themselves. And so that's why they're always behind. So you might want to, if you got any of those, refer them over to me. I'll be glad to retrain them to be able to afford your product or services in the long run. Fair enough? Thank you. All right. So part of increasing your prices, though, is like, is Dr. John, can he handle 156 new patients all the time, every year? Maybe not. In fact, if we looked at his financial statements, there's a number of ratios that could be calculated. And there's one called the maximum growth rate. And I'm not going to go through all this, but you'd be surprised the number of MBAs and accountants out there today that do not know how fast you can grow your business. So I always tell people, grow your business, don't explode it. Because what's going to happen is that you're providing products or services that you haven't got collected the funds on yet, particularly if you have accounts receivable and you can't pay your accounts payable simply because you can't get your money to come in fast enough and you don't have bigger lines of capital to be able to, to keep, because cash is king and you got to keep cash flowing through your business to be able to buy the products before you sell them. Fair enough? All right. In fact, number 12 financial breakthrough has to deal with understanding your financial statements and where you can generate profits. In fact, I created a whole entire 8 series of lessons on how to squeeze money out of your financial statements. And people thinking, oh, this is crazy. My accountant never told me that. Well, your accountant's in the business of crunching numbers. He's not in the business. Most of them are not in the business of interpreting numbers. And that's one of the reasons why I stopped being a CPA and rather become a coach, so that I can talk more about these things without fear of recrimination, quite frankly. You'd be surprised, what happens these days amongst professionals who actually do not like being challenged in their historic understanding of things. So basically, we're going to help you understand your profit and loss statement. There's a section on options for increasing revenues, controlling costs. We're going to talk about 6 ways of controlling your cost of goods sold. How to lower your overhead, particularly in the area of income taxes. Actually, if you don't have a profit and loss statement, you don't have an accountant, you don't know how to do this yourself, you never took bookkeeping, that's fine. We actually can help you build your P&L from scratch and discover your business's financial potential. And of course, people ask about Facebook marketing. So we have a whole series on how much you can actually spend on Facebook and still make a profit. There's a formula to do it. It's really, again, there's a science to this art of business. It's a science. And it's an art, okay? And we're going to help you get through that. And this is a whole series that you can obtain as one of our clients. In fact, what I want to do is talk quickly about these 5 areas that kind of sum up and show you this compound growth effect and how if we just increase these 5 areas just by a little bit, how much it's going to net the bottom line. So it's kind of give you a picture of how this profit and loss statement would pan out. So let's say at the beginning, a new client comes in. Let's say Dr. John has 1,000 leads coming in. He's converting 1 out of 4. It's not Dr. John, it's somebody else. But and so that means he's getting 250 customers, 250 sales, and his transactions from each of those customers is 10 per year. And he charges $100. So all said and done, his revenues $250,000, and his gross profit is about 25%, or he basically his take home before taxes is $62,500. So let's say we just increase each of these 5 areas by 10%. And you already found out it's really easy to do. So we get more leads, all right? And it's not because, like in Dr. John's case, we had the same amount of leads, increased his cost, but we doubled his conversions, but we can get more leads. So let's say 10%. We now increase the conversion rate instead of 1 out of 4 to 1 out of 4.3. So 27.5% conversion. That gives us 303 clients. get 11 transactions from them in a year's time on average, some more, some less, increase our price by 10%. Now we have revenues of $366,000. And by decreasing costs by a measly 10%, we now have a net profit of $100,000. Now, what would $100,000 do for your business, for yourself personally? Okay. Now, let's go as high as 50%. And really, when we talk about 50%, this is really just child's play in my business. I mean, we're talking sometimes 1,100% increases in several of these areas. But, then we increase our conversions by 50%. That now brings us 563 clients, 15 transactions, $150 per transaction. We're increasing prices here, friends, and we're still getting more customers, okay? And we haven't spent a dime on additional advertising. In fact, we probably cut the budget almost in half in a lot of cases. So now we're dealing with $1.2 million in revenues. We've done a fantastic job of cutting expenses, particularly in the area of taxes and cost of goods sold. So now we're bringing in just under $250,000, and all we did was change 5 areas at an average of 50% each, and the rate on return is now increased by 760%. Would you like to have 760% return increase in your profitability? Okay, of course you would. All right, so small increases in 5 areas generate massive profits. Again, I've already kind of brought it up. A 50% gain in each of these 5 areas to us is child's play. Okay, this is real easy stuff to do. I don't make promises of 50%. Usually it's 3 to 5 in all of these areas of the business, and there's more than 5. There's actually 40. These strategies are effective, and we just do a little bit in each area, and you can see the increases. Okay. But the fact of the matter is, if I told you we got 1,000% increase in leads and conversions, you just wouldn't believe me. Okay. This is one of those things you have to see for yourself. All right. So let's get together and see if we can't at least evaluate the situation and see whether or not we can help you with it. So without us spending additional dollars on marketing and advertising, we can increase your profits and sales dramatically. Now, let's talk about the last thing here we're going to talk about today. It's breakthrough number 12, which is cutting costs. I kept mentioning, doing it in the area of taxes because it's the bottom line. I mean, after you get all your profits, how much of those profits you want to keep? Well, all of them. All right. And so when it comes to figuring out, first of all, a tax structure, you need to figure out what legal structure that's going to generate the tax structure is going to work for you. And unfortunately, not every business entity, there's not a right business entity across the board. And every company has to, depending on what the answers to these following 2 questions, picks the legal structure that's going to work for them. And the good news is you don't need to pick just one legal structure. You can have several different forms of legal structure, all coming to you personally. So, you can have a number of corporations, SC corporations, LLCs, a couple, sole proprietor business. You can have 1 million of those. So as long as you keep up with accounting work, you can have as many entities as you want. But the question you pick before you enter into any type of entity in your business is, number one, you have to ask yourself a question: how much liability am I personally willing to accept? None. Okay, that's generally the answer. Number 2, how much income taxes am I willing to pay out on my profits? None. Okay, or as little as possible. We have to do what's legally right. So what I've done, I've created this chart so that you can figure out, which are the advantages and disadvantages and the tax consequences of each of the 5 entities out there: sole proprietor, business partnership, an LLC, a C corp, or an S corp. Most small businesses are going to start out either as an LLC or an S corporation, and eventually probably incorporates, for tax purposes, a C corporation. Probably never a partnership, but if you have children under the age of 18, you're probably going to have at least 1 or 2 or 3 sole proprietor businesses as well. Okay, so another income tax reduction strategy is what we call, well, before we get to that, there's basically 2 things you have to remember in cutting taxes: is that there's the right way and there's the wrong way. Okay. Now, Judge Leonard Hand was on the U.S. Supreme Court a number of years ago, And he's famous for saying, anyone may so arrange their affairs that their taxes shall be as low as possible. They are not bound to choose a pattern that will best pay the Treasury, and no one owes a public duty to pay more than the law demands. If you give the IRS more money than is legally necessary, you're not doing yourself a favor, and you're doing the IRS a favor. And guess what? They don't care. All right, it's not their job to care. It's their job to tax you. It's your job to avoid those taxes. In fact, there's two words you should understand. One is tax avoidance, and one is tax evasion. Tax avoidance will save you $5 to $10 on your income taxes. Tax evasion will get you 5 to 10 years in jail. Like Leona Helms used to say, only the little people pay taxes. Well, she was a tax evader, and guess what? She got the 5 to 10 years in the slammer. All right, we don't want to put our clients in the slammer. All right, now there's a strategy called income splitting. Again, this is a tax avoidance structure because in many small businesses, the whole family pitches in to make the business successful. If you hire your child to do business chores, for example, you can turn a non-deductible allowance. In other words, I paid $10 to sweep the floor, as their allowance. Now you can turn it into deductible wage by putting it on the payroll, saving you self-employment tax if you're a sole proprietor, as well as income tax personally. Now, earned income such as wages and salaries arise from personal services. Unlike earned income, there is no $1,000 ceiling on the amount of earned income that can be transferred to your children. So you can pay them up as long as they're 18 and they were under age 18 and they work for the mom and dad in a sole proprietor business. You avoid child labor laws, and you can pay them up to $12,400 this year from your higher 28% tax bracket to the lower 0% tax bracket, because every human being is a citizen of the United States that earns income here has a $12,400 exemption before they start paying $1 in income taxes. So transfer your income as an expense from your books to your child's wages. And so when they fill out their tax return, basically they'll have zero. And at $12,400, of course, you don't allow them, you're the parent, you don't allow them to spend all the money. You have them put that away into a college savings plan. So I like to tell people, you're going to save $3,500 a year for every employed child. And if you pay for your children's college educations with after-tax dollars, you're just nuts. Okay. Well, now that you know that you don't have to. Okay. Before then, you just didn't know. Well, now you'd be very foolish not to find out how to put your kids through college on tax-free dollars. Okay. This is the way to do it. Another income splitting, if you don't have any children, remember there's no limitation on the number of corporations you can own. So the lowest tax rate on a C corporation is 15% on the first $50,000 of profit. I mean, that's lower than, I think in some cases, your personal income tax rate. So use an additional C corporation to collect profits in $50,000 increments to keep the tax low from all your corporations. In fact, the secondary C corporations invoice the primary C corporation for large expenditure areas, and those would be things like marketing services, IT services, leased employees where your kids are at, okay, or other employees. So that way you keep your income tax as low as possible. All right. Now, if you happen to be in a situation where you're paying a great deal of income tax, and obviously you're making some money, you know what you're doing in that area. If you're paying more than $80,000 in federal income tax, you may be able to take advantage of a 4% corporate tax rate. And this is where people say, well, yeah, you're going to make money, to get money. So, well, yeah, unfortunately, in this particular area taxation is kind of the way it is. It's the big boys that get to take advantages of it, but it's also available to you too. In fact, Act 60 of the corporate tax code says that you can get a 4% fixed income tax rate, and all you're doing is changing your taxing jurisdiction. So instead of being in the United States directly, you're in one of the territories. In this particular case, it's Puerto Rico. So your corporation's in Puerto Rico, they have a 4% corporate tax rate, federal income tax rate, and they got these other exemptions and stuff like that, and it's good for 15 years. Now, you have to have a little bit of money to make it worthwhile because you have to pay to own a corporation. You just can't get a Puerto Rico corporation off the shelf without paying somebody a good deal of money to do that. And there's professionals that actually specialize in this. So if you need to save a serious amount of taxes, then we need to talk separately on that. Okay. All right. So these are the 12 areas, 5 of which we talked in detail, financial breakthroughs areas. There's a total of 40, but there's 12 that we talked about. In fact, my mentor and friend, Brian Tracy, in his book, and his books are an outcome of his training sessions. But basically, Brian says anyone can learn from their own mistakes. That's assuming you can live long enough. Okay. A truly wise person, a truly smart person learns from the mistakes of other people. So what I'm trying to do here is take the trials and errors of big businesses, other small businesses, things that I've seen, read, heard, studied, and present those in a situation where you don't have to make the same poor decisions and costly decisions that other people make, simply by allowing me to coach you through these areas. In fact, I use a program called the Profit Acceleration Software. I like to sit down with each of you for roughly 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the number of questions. And I just want to give you a quick background of what that looks like. This is a simulator. Actually, you can go online. If you want to write down this web address, you can do this online yourself, but smallbusinessmybusiness.com//simulator. And what this does, it simulates what we actually do inside the detailed software, pretty much getting across to you the power of compounding effect of making small changes in what it does. So let's just say you're making $250,000 a year. Your gross profit margin, that's the money, the cost of goods sold, let's say is 33%, 35%, that leaves you 65% gross profit. Your net profits, after you pay all your overhead costs, it's going to leave you about 25%. Of course, we're using US dollars here since we're in the United States. And let's just say we want to make 3% increments in these 12 areas. Let's see what a $250,000 sales is going to look like. Just making little 3% changes, 5,000 here and there. You add them all up, you're talking about $71,000 in increased profit. That's not just revenue, this is profits. That's 113% increased profit. So we've gone from 250,000 at 62.5 to adding 96,000. So basically 346,000 in new revenues with new profits of 133. Okay. So that's how it works. In fact, if you want to apply that all the way down, we call it the deep dive, going into all 40 areas. Just hit that little button there and you can start adding up all the 40 different areas. You notice how it's increasing because these things are compounding on one another. And so once we get done, this usually takes roughly a year for us to deal with one at a time, sometimes a little longer depending, but usually between 12 and 18 months, we can do exactly what we're showing here as by way of example. We can turn a $250,000 business into a $700,000 business, taking your $62,000 in profit to $423,000 in profit. Is it worth 45 minutes of your time to explore that for free? If so, drop me a line and let me know. Okay, be more than glad to do that. In fact, you can do a personalized roadmap here just to kind of give you an idea. Just pop in your name and email it to yourself, and I'll get a confirmation, and then we can set up a time to chat. Okay. If it's free, how bad can it be, right? All right, let's do that. In fact, most of our clients at this point, we get them involved and they want to be involved in our group coaching. Reason being is that they can't necessarily afford or want the one-on-one at this time, but they'd rather get the information, work with us on a more of a limited basis, but get all the information so they can, basically get the information. So what do I do? What do I offer this guy, Michael, who I brought into my circle through my advertising? What am I going to do with him? So I'm going to invite him, obviously, to come to our, the workshop like we did here to get some idea of what we're talking about and that we do know what we're talking about. Share with him 5 of the 40 secrets as quickly as we possibly can, not waste his time. And then try to encourage you to become a member of our group coaching program that meets every Tuesday on Zoom for about an hour to 90 minutes, depending on the number of questions. And we do that at former Big Four CPA reveals.info. That's how you can get more information. So I want to make sure that I can increase your revenue so that you do get time to spend more time with your families and friends instead of working all the time. Have some money to be able to hire people to do those more routine tasks that, that your experience says, I shouldn't be doing this. I should pay somebody $15 or $20 an hour to do this work. not me when I'm making $500 an hour. Okay. You say, wait a minute, $500 an hour? Yes. If you're not making $500 an hour, that's the amount of revenue you're bringing into your firm. You are not a successful entrepreneur. I'll tell you that right now. And we can talk about that in a second. But Michael wants to increase his revenues up to $500,000 annually by making small 3% adjustments in 40 business areas, build a lucrative business with predictable recurring revenue, and to live this life of a successful entrepreneur. If that's what he wants to do, and that's what you want to do, then I suggest you consider enrolling in our Small Business Academy group coaching program. Okay. Now, what does that entail? Well, I'll tell you right off the bat so you don't get squeamish here and worry it's going to cost me an arm and a leg, is no, it won't. In fact, you are invited to come to the group coaching if you register for it. You can come to the first one absolutely free and see how it's done. And what we do is the Academy comes with a 52 weekly group coaching session, and I lead that session personally. And you can include up to 5 people from your company. So if it's you, your partner, a spouse, business manager, anybody in your business, and you can rotate those people out. You don't have to invite them every week. You can run through your old company in a year's time if you got enough people, and just bring 5. And that value of that group coaching, if I was to charge it, at the rack rates, about $12,000 a year. Okay. Now you're going to get live instruction from me. What we do is we go through one of these. You see the virtual MBA down there. There's a series of videos in each one of those weeks. You can see how it's laid out, and then we're going to talk about that. You're going to watch the video, do a little bit of homework until we meet on that Tuesday. Usually that's at around 6:30, 7 o'clock on a Tuesday on the Zoom meeting, and then we'll discuss it. Then we'll have 2, maybe 3, what we call hot seat participants. People say, hey, this is the problem I've been working on. Can everybody help me work through this very specific problem? We call that the hot seat. Then we'll open up the floor for general questions and answers, specific questions and answers, kind of like a radio talk call-in type show. And then, of course, I'll provide email support during the week. And once a month as needed, I'll do a 30-minute personal coaching call with you on a one-on-one, so you don't have to say everything in front of everybody and feel uncomfortable doing that. Okay. Now, the second thing you get with the group coaching is the actual Small Business Academy, which we call the virtual MBA. And there's really more to it than just this, but let's concentrate on this. Each lesson comes, and this is one every week that you get. Each lesson comes with a 30 to 45-minute video lesson, and you can download the workbook to follow along, take notes, and work out your business ideas so we can discuss them during the group session or in our personal one-on-one. Okay. Also, you're going to get, as a third portion of the small business group workshop, is what we call the $1 Million Ad Library, which are copyable examples for hundreds of businesses. And this itself is worth $5,000. And because we work with over 100 different industries, we got dozens of ad examples broken down by industry. So you can copy those and use those in your advertising, or actually we use some of those in our app. In fact, that's where they came from. We use some of those in our advertising for our newer clients as well as examples to say, okay, let's do this in your business. Okay. Now, as another portion, this is really good. So you're not just dealing with me. All right. As much as I know, that's all fine and dandy, but we have literally dozens of people that come on board who are well-recognized people in business to talk about how they do their business. And we call that the weekly marketing web classes, which is also done, I believe, on a Tuesday. It's done twice, 2 different times on Tuesday, and that's worth about $6,000. So whether you like Jeff Bezos or Mark Cuban or not, it's really irrelevant, but they have things that maybe you ought to pay attention to. And so we offer that as a free webinar that basically it's a international coaching seminar that we do, and it's free to all of our group members. Now, we also have a few extra bonuses. So if you're able to move forward here by the next, I think we make this good through Friday at 5 o'clock. If you're able to do that, we're going to give you several bonuses. And the first bonus is our profit acceleration assessment. And using our proprietary profit acceleration software, I'm going to help you analyze up to 12 key business areas of your business for incremental improvements. And normally when I do that, if I sit down with a couple hours with people and go through this and present the full-fledged report, usually the fee for that is $5,000. But I'm going to spend 45 minutes. We're going to do a personal Zoom meeting. We're going to look at 3 to 5 of the most important areas in your business, and guarantee that we're going to find $100,000 in new revenues without spending additional money on advertising. So that simulator I showed you, that gives you the idea and in the areas, but we're going to go into details. The nice thing about the profit acceleration software, it tells us what to do first, second, or third to give you the most profit quickest. So we're after quick wins, if you will. And it gives us policy procedures at the end to follow. And just about, in fact, it has like 500 billion business algorithms of what to do in every situation, because we analyzed literally hundreds of thousands of businesses and how they made decisions and incorporated into our software, so that not only we don't, I don't have to sit there and figure out everything from scratch. It actually, we actually have a dedicated program to help us do that, so we don't miss anything, which is the important part. All right, so I also talked briefly about the, so bonus number 2 is what we call the financial training for small business owners. It's 8 online instruction videos, comes with a workbook, tell you how to read your financial statements. I mean, your accountant's going to love you after this. I mean, you're going to know as much as they have and probably be able to interpret it well, if not better, than your accountant or bookkeeper who's just writing up the statements and not really paying attention to it. You're going to be able to understand the numbers that your accountant's giving you. All right. Also, as a third bonus, you're going to get my book, 45-Minute Small Business Breakthroughs, showing you how we find $100,000 in new revenues actually guaranteed, and that's a $50 value. So when you add it all up, you got the Small Business Weekly Group Coaching for $12,000, online access to Small Business Academy, that's 24/7. So whether you make a group coaching or you miss it, of course, we record all the group coaching sessions, and but you always have the training courses online. So if you find yourself in a situation where you have to, catch up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you can do it anytime you want to. At the $1 Million Ad Library, the weekly marketing web classes from marketing experts from all around the world, $6,000 for that. Bonus 1, 2, and 3, which is the profit acceleration software one-on-one analysis that I will do with you over a Zoom meeting, the financial training videos, and the small workbook. When you add it all up, if you were to take the rack rate and buy it one at a time, you would be talking $39,000 to do that. And you would probably, at the end of the year, would say, boy, I'm glad I spent that $39,000. Or we can break it up into monthly payments of $3,250. However, if you take advantage of what I'm ready to offer you here by Friday at 5 o'clock Eastern time, you're not going to pay me $39,000 or $3,250 a month. In fact, it won't even be half that at $1,625 a month. In fact, you can get the entire group Small Business Academy group coaching for simply $497 a month, and that includes getting your first session absolutely free. So essentially, you're getting 53 weeks because you're going to pay for 52 and get the first one free. And also, again, if you register by 5 p.m., get all the bonuses, and you get to have at least up to 5 people from your company. So it's not just you; it could be 5 people a month. So or 5 people a session. So if you have 20 people in your firm and you want to run them through 5 people a week, then every one of them can spend at least 1 hour with us and yourself, in the group coaching. So everybody gets a little bit of taste. And of course, you're free to show all of the recorded sessions and the academy, the online MBA, the virtual MBA. You can show that to your people anytime, anywhere you want. Use them in your own training, particularly like in sales and things like that, particular areas that are going to be important to them. And I can help you figure out which ones are which. That's part of what I do on those 30-minute monthly calls, is try to help you figure out which programs will be best for the type of people you want to help educate. Okay. So you can do that. So you not only just educate yourself, but you're going to educate your whole business. And believe me, when you know your market dominating position, one of the things I'm going to tell you is how to train your people to say that, your market dominating position to everybody that walks into the building. When they do that, you're going to see absolutely astronomical effects, because now everybody is on the same page. And you want to be able to hire the best people. I mean, one of the biggest problems people have today is like, man, I can't find good people to work for me. I mean, I'm getting a lot of interviews, a lot of resumes, but I can't find people that come to work that are worth the salt. So, you want to get people to come work for you, start treating them like your customers. Try to win them and woo them with all the best stuff that you've got. And the only way to do that is to, do things like increase your prices, increase your customers' conversions, because now you got the cash to invest in your people. And what's more important, the people or the product or service that you're giving? Well, it's all important, but the people are, believe it or not, if they're not on the same wavelength with you as far as promoting your business ain't going to go too far. All right. So, and you'll find yourself adding more people because now you want to scale your business. So I want to get more people, and I can attract some of the best people because I'm able to give them the best benefits. Because not only I sell, not only can I get a lot of clients, but I can get a lot of customers because I know I treat my customers, I treat my employees like I do my customers. Okay. Now, in order to register, go to this website, former Big Four CPA reveals.info. And all the information there we just covered is there. You can register. You have to register for this to be able to get into the group coaching, even for the free session, because I got to know you're going to be there, because I got to send you some information up front to get you started. So go ahead and register there. Don't be afraid to register. I'm not going to, pound you to death, try to upsell you and all that kind of stuff. Strictly trying to get you into the group coaching session for your own benefit and to your own success. Okay. So again, the first group session is free. It'll be next Tuesday at 7:00, I believe, Eastern time. And look forward to having you there. And Ken, of course, you can opt out. So if after you go to the first group session, you say, well, this isn't for me. That's fine. I mean, you haven't paid me anything, so there's no harm, no foul. But you can actually stop being in the group program. It's not, a 12-month commitment, though I think it's in your best interest to do that. But you say after 2 or 3 months, I'll commit to 2 or 3 months, do that. That's perfectly fine. But I think you'll end up seeing so much revenue coming in. That's you feel kind of crazy if you decided to stop getting the information and just kind of sit pat. So most people want to do the best they possibly can for themselves and their families and employees. So I would encourage you to at least start for a quarter, a month or 2 or 3, and see where it goes from there. Okay. All right. So we meet at 7:00 on Tuesdays on the Zoom meeting, but you got to register at former Big Four CPA reveals.info, not .com. This is where you're reading right now, but .info. And that has all the information laid out, what you're going to get, just like we explained, and what you have to register. You put in your credit card information, that sort of thing at that time, but it doesn't automatically charge you. So I have to actually take your information, and I won't set the fee until after you've had your first session. So if you can't make the session next week, it's the week after that, then don't worry about that. You can still come to the first one free, even if it's 2 or 3 weeks from now. All right. I know people got things to do, so but I would try to get to this free session as quick as possible so you don't lose that information that's going to help you in your business. Because even the free session, if you don't walk away with putting money in your pocket the next week, I'd be surprised. Okay. All right. So again, this is Ken Pwedak with Small Business is My Business. I hope you decide to use our group coaching. I know we're going to do wonders together. And if you're not, we do have some other opportunities. If if the 497 is a hardship for you right now, and I understand that, we've gone through some pretty rough times these last 2 years with the COVID and all that. But I do have a program for as little as $97 a month. You can email me about that. And also, if you say, Ken, I don't really want the group coaching. I want you to analyze my business. You'll do that Profit Accelerator, and I want to build a profit acceleration business right then and now. And if that's what you want, in other words, you want to make $500,000 in the next 12 to 18 months in revenue, additional revenues without spending more on income, then let's do that. Let's go through the Profit Acceleration. You're going to get the group coaching anyway, whether you come or not, but with my one-on-one clients. But way I do this is that after we do the Profit Acceleration analysis, and if I feel comfortable and you feel comfortable that we can work together, I'm willing to offer you a contract, an agreement where I will work on your business for the next 12 to 18 months to make you $500,000 in additional revenues, and you only have to pay me a fee upon success. And that's, so in other words, if you're at, let's say, I'll just use a low number, $100,000 in revenues today, and you're making $600,000 a year from now, my fee is going to be a percentage of that increase of the $500,000 difference. Okay. So basically I'm be like your chief revenue officer, and I'll be paid strictly on a commission. So if there's no results, there's no fee. So, I mean, that's a guarantee you can't beat, in my opinion. I wish I had people that make that kind of offer to me all the time, but they don't. So I've got several clients to do that for. And basically I charge them anywhere between a 15 to 20% commission. I handle all the expenses of what it takes to get that client. And I'm going to do the same things for your business as a general rule that I do for my own. All right. So I know it works for me. It's worked for other people, and I know it'll work for you. So let's sit down and explore that. All right. And that's what I want to do is I want to make you successful, whether I can do it a little bit at a time. You can do it through your do-it-yourself program that we have, or the one-on-one program that I can help you directly and spend a lot of my time working on your particular growth and increase your business. All right. So again, my name is Ken Puidak. Go to formerbig4cpareveals.info. Register for the Small Business Coaching Academy, and then drop me an email too if you're interested in a smaller pared down version of that virtual MBA for $97 a month, or you would like to go directly to the Profit Acceleration Program, where I'm one-on-one, where I work with you on a commission basis alone. Okay. All right. Well, again, my name is Ken Puidak. Reach out to me, and I look forward to seeing your success in 12 months from now. All right. Have a good evening. Take care.